good afternoon everyone and a very warm welcome. I'm Dr. Ishita from Prudent Insurance Brokers and I would like to thank you all for joining today's webinar session. So, did you all know homeopathy is a 200-year-old form of medicine that acts by stimulating body's own healing response and strengthening the immune system. It is a holistic system of medicine based on a theory of likes cures likes. Homeopathy is the second largest system of medicine practiced across the world, with over 200 million people using it. In India itself, around 100 million people take homeopathic medications as their preferred option of healthcare. And yet, there are many concerns that cloud our mind when we hear about the word homeopathy. Questions like, is it just a placebo effect? Are there any side effects? Do those small white pills actually contain any medications? So today, to tell us more about homeopathy and answer all our queries, we are joined by Dr. Yatri Thakur, a homeopath and mental health counselor with over 2 decades of experience. She is proficient in treating a wide range of ailments with homeopathic medications and specializes in pediatric cases. Dr. Yatri has written various health-related articles and has also won a lot of awards, including India's Care Hero by Baby Chakra, Excellence in Homeopathy by Indian Health Profession Award, Women Power in Health Tech at Women Power Summit, and many more. So without any further ado, I'll hand over the session to Dr. Yatri to help us understand more about homeopathy.
Thank you, Doc, for this wonderful introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining today. So if you can see the screen, can you see it properly? Yes?
Yes, Doctor.
Awesome. Okay. So why this topic was chosen in this month has a complete connection because 10th April is the World Homeopathy Day. And as you all know, especially post-COVID, homeopathy is really picked up and people have known at least about how it works or it doesn't work. And therefore, we are going to start this session for the same. I would want you all to try and I would really urge to make this an interactive session. So if you all have any kind of questions, queries, I'm more than happy to answer. Okay. So let's first understand what is really cure. So why does a person go to a doctor? They go to a doctor if they need treatment for certain kind of disease. Disease is whenever there is no ease in your body, or it could be your mind too. And what a patient is really looking at, the patient is looking for cure. It doesn't matter what pathy you are choosing, but finally the patient is looking for cure. And what is truly this cure? It is actually the treatment do not treat the disease, but the treatment is given so that the body restores its own body's self-healing ability or immunity to cure itself. That is called real cure. We have a lot of pathies available, and I believe that the most important tool to treat a disease is through diagnosis. Every pathy has its own limitations and every pathy has its own strengths. So let's understand today all the strengths of homeopathy. What is really homeopathy? Homeopathy is divided into the word homeos and pathos. That means similar suffering. It means it is actually based on the principle that the symptoms that are caused in a healthy being, that symptoms, if recorded, can be treated to treat a patient having a disease as well. In fact, it is the only science which is first, it is proven on the healthy human beings, and then from that a materia medica or certain kind of symptoms are noted, experimented, kept, read, and then it is prescribed to a patient having the same symptoms. Did you know that homeopathy is about 200 years old, and it actually was discovered by a German physicist. He's the father of homeopathy, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. And in fact, that's why 10th April is the day when he discovered it, and therefore we celebrate it as the World Homeopathy Day. So Dr. Samuel Hahnemann discovered this homeopathy, and there is a very, very interesting story towards it. What is it? So in 1700s or late 17s, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann was an allopathic doctor or a physician, and he was totally dissatisfied with the kind of crude treatment happening in those days. So say, for example, if you had any kind of inflammation or redness on your finger, the only treatment in 1700s was to actually cut the finger. So it was a very crude kind of system. There was nothing like cure. There was nothing like actual diagnosis and then trying to treat a patient through medicine. It was all about a cut throat kind of treatment. So if there was any inflammation or deeper disease, then they would use something like leeches who would suck the blood, and then in turn that would treat the patient. So Samuel Hahnemann was not happy with this, and he was looking for some answers. Now, while doing so, he was translating one of the physicists into his documentation into German language, and he was from Germany, a German himself. So he came across this doctor's documentation which said that that doctor actually treated his malaria with cinchona bark, which was very bitter. So that made him very curious. And what Dr. Samuel Hahnemann did, he himself went and took a little bit of cinchona bark extract, and then he had it himself. Now remember, he was healthy then, and he started developing all the symptoms of malaria to his surprise, like shivering, like fever, which comes and goes, like perspiration, exact picture of what a malaria patient would have. This made him even more curious. And finally, he found out that like cures like. He discovered that the symptoms of diarrhea in a healthy human being, the same medicines, if given to a diseased person, what actually happens is that medicine goes very deep inside, treats the diarrhea and comes out. What is the convention side of treatment or allopathy side of treatment? In case if you have diarrhea, they would give a medicine which will cause constipation and therefore avoid diarrhea. But is it really treating from the root? That's a question we need to ask each other. So that's how beautiful this remedy or the pathy, homeopathy, was built. It actually achieved its greatest popularity in 19th century, and now in fact from Germany it has traveled to all over Europe, to US, and the best, India. If you go, homeopathy is accepted in every part of India, and people have started believing it, knowing it, experiencing the difference. So what does this homeopathy principles run on, or what is it exactly? Homeopathy has actually 7 kind of principles, but I've named the first 5 which are the most important. The first one is the law of individualization. What does it mean? It means a customized kind of treatment. If you are a patient who has allergy, you are 25 years old, a female, I get one more patient who is again 25 years old, who has allergy and a female. But both of the patient's symptoms are different, and therefore the remedy should also be different. That is what the law of individualization is. So if you go to a homeopath, the homeopath will go into various kind of questioning, right? And you feel, oh my God, this doctor is asking me too many questions, which last for maybe 20 to 30 minutes. But he's doing so that he can find you how different you are from that other patient. And if once we know how different you are, depending on your personality, depending on the disease, the symptoms of the disease, a remedy is given. That comes to the law of similarity. So once we individualize the patient, we find out what is similar in you and the drug or the remedy that we want to give you, just like the example of cinchona bark I gave you. Or one more example I can give you, when you have coffee, sometimes you feel sleepless, right? The effect of caffeine. And you know what? Patients having sleeplessness, when we give them a remedy similar to the coffee, the sleeplessness goes away. I hope you're trying to relate now what I'm trying to say. The law of similarity or similia similibus curanter. हिंदी में बोलते हैं तो लोहा लोहे को काटता है. We know this, right? Our grandparents or somewhere we have heard them saying this. So that's exactly the remedy, the principles homeopathy work on. In fact, one more example I can give you for the law of similarity, and that we all have experienced during the COVID times. The vaccines actually are run with the same principle. The slightest nanoparticle of the disease is taken of the COVID, and then the vaccines are made, and that is injected in your body to build the immunity. That's the law of similarity. Let's go to the third and the most interesting, the law of minimum dose. What it means is with just the slightest effect, and the right kind of small dose, not overpower it, we treat the patients, and therefore mostly we see that homeopathy doesn't have side effects. If you're having too many multiple remedies, it's not required, because your own immune system or the vital force, that's my fifth law that I've put, or what vital force, other word is immunity, is haywire. If we try and help you to gain your immunity, the vital force, in turn, that will treat your multiple symptoms or multiple diseases. A patient having PCOS can have symptoms all over the body. For example, they might have hair fall, which is on top of their head. They might have acne on the cheeks. They can have mood swings, which is in your mind. They can have extra hair growth on the chin. And of course, the changes in menstrual cycles and the uterus, which is some other part of the body. But imagine giving a single remedy using the law of similarity and individualizing the patient, and finally taking care of the vital force and immunity. Imagine the effect of the remedy that can have on the patient, and that's what exactly homeopathy is. But one more last order of healing principle is so important, and when you understand why, you will be surprised that homeopathy is the only pathy which has gone through a lot of thought process, and it's a deep-rooted medicine. So what does the order of healing mean? So say if you have asthma, bronchial asthma, and you've gone to your doctor, you will have symptoms like, cough, consistent cough, breathlessness, wheezing probably. Now, when the homeopath follows the first 4 laws and gives you a remedy, what will happen in the order of healing, or how you will know that the remedy is working? So if the remedy is right, firstly, we will see that the breathlessness of that allergic patient is gone. Then the cough is gone. Then it comes a little above. That means the patient will see that maybe they have cold and cough, but they have throat pain. After that, the throat pain is also gone. The wheezing and all that is already gone. Then the patient might have a lot of running nose and itching of nose or nose block or burning of eyes. Do you know what has really happened? From lower respiratory tract, the disease has gone up to the upper respiratory tract and completely out. Now, when a patient has disease, the disease actually builds from outside to inside. That means from upper respiratory tract disease to the lower respiratory tract disease. A disease runs from up to inside, and homeopathy will treat you exactly opposite, from inside to outside. That's how beautiful these principles are, and one can follow to understand whether the cure is being there or made or not. Okay, so that's for why should one use homeopathy? Firstly, it is the most gentle and the effective way of medicine. It is also effective in all kind of age groups. In fact, I treat patients right from the pregnancy, newborn, children, teens, and till old age. So it is absolutely gentle and very, very effective. It gives long lasting to permanent cure. Now, what does that mean? Again, let me take the example of the allergic patient, allergic bronchitis. So if you're taking, say, allopathy treatment, or you're taking the pumps or inhalers to treat your asthma, what happens is you'll be saying, say you're having 2 puffs every day and yet you are breathless, or you might have an asthmatic attack, say 4 times in a week. Now, when you start taking homeopathy, you will see the duration and the intensity also reduces. So that means you will see that the asthma you will now have maybe twice a week instead of 4 times a week. What it used to last for 24 hours, it will start lasting for 2 hours and then slowly, slowly reduce. Now, when you compare that to the allopathy side of treatment, what really happens every time, your body will build an immunity against the disease. Therefore, the allopaths have to keep on increasing the dose and the potency of the medicine. So say again to the example of the allergic patient, if they're having 2 puffs or inhalers a day, the allopath might have to make it 3 or 4 whenever there are triggers. Okay, so homeopathy gives long lasting to permanent cure. Now, homeopathy treats the patient as a whole and not as a disease. So when I explain the law of individuality, what does that mean is we treat the patient as a person and not the disease. So say the patient comes to me for PCOS, I will just not treat the uterus or the menstrual cycle to be regular. I will treat the patient as a whole, where her mood swings are taken care of, her hormonal imbalance taken care of, or maybe some kind of triggers. So homeopathy treats as a whole, or let's call it holistic treatment. Fourth, homeopathy remedies are non-toxic, harmless, safe, and effective for all age groups. And unlike antibiotics, homeopathy remedies do not have any kind of side effects. And most important, they definitely do not lower the immune system. Now, we have spoken so much about homeopathy and allopathy. Honestly, I started my session saying that every pathy has its own limitations. And for me, or I'm sure for most of the homeopaths or doctors, the most important thing is to diagnose the patient rightly. If we don't know where the disease or which part of your body is coming from, whether it's physiological, whether it's pathological, or even deeper, a doctor cannot treat. Yet, homeopathy has its limitations in cases like, say, where surgery is required. If a patient has acute appendicitis, surgery is required. If they have fracture, surgery is required. Homeopathy cannot work there. If a patient comes with hernia, we cannot treat with homeopathy. We would say, okay, go for surgery. The pre and post you can take for better ailments. So say they have dentition issue, you have caries, homeopathy cannot treat your caries. But yes, maybe the pain, the toothache, especially during pregnancy, is where homeopathy can work. So we have our own limitations and strengths. And when a physician knows the limitation to where the disease is going, it works best for the patients. So here are a few of the places where homeopathy really works best, and they are mostly the psychosomatic disorders. Psycho means mind, somatic means body. So whenever you have too much stress, strain, and your body cannot take it or mind cannot take it, it will start throwing diseases, or vice versa. So I've penned down a few diseases where homeopathy works really well. The first is allergies. Second, skin complaints like acne, eczema, psoriasis, warts, urticaria. Urticaria is again skin allergy, and many more. Okay, hair fall like alopecia androgenic alopecia, or alopecia areata, where they have small spots on the hair. Male pattern baldness, we can help them at least for the receding line. Migraine headaches, when you have headaches without any, when it is not related to your blood pressure and yet you have migraines, when you don't sleep well, we can wonderfully help you. Digestive issue like irritable bowel syndrome, your bowels are not clear, either you have too much constipation or too much diarrhea, acidity, reflux, colitis, ulcerative colitis, gastric ulcer, etc. Okay, mental health issue. It's again, post-COVID, I'm seeing so many cases increases, especially anxiety and panic attacks. And we see to it that we practice something called as preventive psychiatry before it becomes too much. There's some remedies for that, like flower remedies and homeopathy remedies. So mental health issues like depression, anxiety, OCD, ADHD, we can absolutely treat with homeopathy. Now here I want to mention if a patient has second degree of depression and they are already taking allopathy medication, when they come to a homeopath, one needs to start a combination of two. That's because if you suddenly stop allopathy, patients can go into withdrawal symptoms that will become worse. So when you start a combination of two, slowly, the homeopathy effect takes over, and then you can taper the drugs. And I usually like working with the allopathic doctors as a team. There are some other diseases too where we can take a combination of homeopathy and allopathy, the chronic diseases like diabetes mellitus, blood pressure, hypothyroidism. Again, when you work sometimes together with homeopathy and allopathy, slowly the allopathy medication tapers off and you can take over the effect of homeopathy. Now, let's come back to which other disease homeopathy helps. Mostly the lower abdomen, like the renal calculi or the kidney stones, the gallbladder stones, urinary tract infection if somebody has quite often, infertility issues due to hyperlactin, hormonal imbalance, or endometriosis, PCOS, menstrual irregular cycle, right from menarche where the girls have severe pain to pre-pregnancy issues to menopausal issues, perimenopausal, absolutely helps, homeopathy helps. Piles and fissures, if there is bleeding per rectum, there are remedies. Again, here a physician needs to know what is the degree of fissure of piles. If they need to go for an operation, then the physician can suggest. Bodily symptoms or body pains like arthritis, osteoarthritis, backache, body pain, where you've done n number of tests, blood diagnostic tests, and yet you have body aches, then homeopathy is your answer. Okay. Now, if you remember that I spoke about psychosomatic disorder, right? Now, do you all want to take a test to know whether you are going through the psychosomatic disorder or not? Yes? Yes, just say a few yeses. I would love to see on the chat box. Remember, I said let's make this like an interactive session. So I would like people to just go and say yes. So I'll tell you what exactly we can do. Okay, right? Yes, great. So come on, guys, just put yes over there.
So Doctor, yes, we've received a few responses in the question box actually. People
Okay.
have said yes, and we are receiving quite a few yeses in the
Good.
question box.
I'm glad more I can help them. Okay. Okay. All right. So there are these 5 questions, and either you have a pen, paper in front of you or a phone. I will ask this question, and all you have to do is answer in yes and no on your phone or on your paper. Okay. The first question is, do you get overwhelmed with change? A very, very important question. You know, change is a part of our lives. In fact, every day our cells are changing, but yet we resist. Are you one of those who gets really overwhelmed with change? Okay. Be honest with yourself and better answer you will get. Okay. Okay. Next question. Your professional or personal life is not giving you joy and fulfillment. Again, try and be honest. The ultimate goal of having the best professional life or a good personal life is to experience joy, right? Now, are you one of that who in your professional and personal life, it's not giving you, you're not experiencing joy and fulfillment? Say yes and or no. Let's go to the next. Okay. Are you suffering from chronic disease? Chronic disease is the one that you're suffering from more than 1 month continuously. Okay, more than 1 month. Anything less than that, actually ideally acute are about 10-15 days, but I would put it as 1 month with the kind of lifestyle changes we all go through. So are you suffering from any kind of chronic disease? Yes or no? Next, are you overthinking? Thinking is good. Having thoughts, good or bad, is good. But are you overdoing it? Does it just come too much in your mind and you just can't stop your thoughts? So much so that you can't sleep? Are you one of those? Yes or no? Last question. You don't spend quality time with yourself. Are you one of those who doesn't spend quality time? When I say quality time, it's just yourself, not yourself and the phone or screen. I don't mean that. I meant quality time just with yourself. For example, you go for a walk, you're meditating just by yourself. You're reading a book, you're sitting in a corner and just thinking or writing something or planning. Are you one of those who doesn't spend quality time with yourself? Okay, now, okay, if you have got 3 yes or more than 3 yes, you have the highest chances of suffering any of the psychosomatic disorder. This is the truth. Okay, so it's an alarm bell. If you've got 3 yes or more than 3, if you have 2 or 1, I would say good. You are at there, you're working on yourself, and just keep on doing the same. Okay. Now, once we understand the yes or no's with the psychosomatic disorder that you might be suffering from, let's understand how come that's built in us. You know, all of us, let's understand how our mind and body connection works. Now, just for a second, think of your favorite restaurant and your favorite cuisine. And imagine it's right now in front of you. What happens to us? Our mouth starts salivating, isn't it? Imagine we are just thinking about something that's in our mind and our body is responding by salivating. This is how the mind-body connection works. But we are so busy in our lives that we are not ready to listen to our body. Now, our organs are connected with certain emotions, and this has been experimented, this has been known in practice, and all the physicians would relate to this. Because a general physician, when he sees patients, he knows about 70% of his patients sitting outside his clinic are suffering from psychosomatic disorders because of this mind-body connection. Now, what have we seen with research? That mostly the liver organ is affected if you're one of those who gets angry very fast or is irritable all the time. They are the type A personality ones. You know, they snap, they have extreme lifestyle, they are too much into addictions, alcohol, they're flamboyant, they consume more of alcohol. They are the ones who get angry very fast. Okay. Now, it's seen the people whose spleen is affected, they worry a lot or overthink a lot. Okay. Now, people whose heart is affected, they are very, very impatient or overjoyed. Haven't you heard? We have seen this in movies also, right? This person who got a lottery ticket and out of joy, he got a heart attack. Isn't it? That's true. Actually, even if you're too joyous, you will feel a kind of expansion in your heart, right? The heart is related to being overjoyed or impatience. Lungs. Usually the lung is affected in case you've gone through grief, sad news, a big impact in your life. It can also, or depression. It's all related. It's literally like a cycle. And research shows that the kidneys could be affected in case you suffer from a lot of fears and insecurities. Okay. Now this is about in 70–80%. And again, I began my session by saying that there's something called as pathological changes, and the diagnosis needs to be done. All the diseases are not related due to stress, strain, emotional issues, but most of them are. Okay. So what do we do to balance the psychosomatic disorders where homeopathy works the best? I usually emphasize on holistic wellness. That means understand first where the core issue is of this patient, and then work on every area of the patient, be it the physical wellness, for example, the right kind of diet, the exercise, the right kind of diagnosis, what the disease is, and how we can help them for physical wellness. Work then on their mental wellness. If you're not happy, no matter what you do, you will not feel a sense of joy and satisfaction. And vice versa for physical wellness. If you have severe backache, severe physical issues, no matter how successful you are, you will not enjoy it. And then you start feeling low, depressed, and so on and so forth. And third connection for the holistic wellness, which is very important according to me, is the mind-body connection. When one even brings a slightest awareness of their mind and their body that something is happening, let me take a moment, stop there and think, what is this? Can I do something about this? Can I change this? Just by asking these three wonderful questions, you will see a wonderful connection happening and holistic wellness taking care in your mind and body. Okay. I want to give few tools to bring this beautiful connection of holistic wellness. The first takeaway for today is exercise at least 40 minutes to 1 hour a day. No matter what, our body is made in such a way that every single joint of your body should be in movement. Our body is actually meant for farmers. You know how much hard work and toil they may do to just bring in that vegetation. Our body is actually meant for that. But due to lifestyle changes, most of the time we are like couch potatoes, sitting at office, sitting at home, using the lift, sitting in the car. And the most important emphasis comes here is on exercise. It could be in any form, swimming, dancing, movement, but movement is necessary. Brisk walking, whatever you want. Physical wellness is the first step. Second, notice your lifestyle. It doesn't mean you should not enjoy, but bring a balance. Monday to Friday, you can sleep early, sleep at least 7 to 8 hours, maybe Saturday, Sunday party. You can eat healthy food Monday to Saturday, and maybe Sunday just binge on whatever you want. Third tip, avoid two things in your diet and you will see your body becoming much more younger, energetic, high of immunity. Two foods that I ask you to avoid are, one is sugar, refined sugar. Research has shown on consumption of sugar in the next 4 hours, your body immunity goes down to 50%. So no sugar, no sugar. Second, avoid maida, because that itself is actually, minute it goes in your body, it becomes starch and turns into sugar. And it, of course, brings down your metabolism, lowers your immunity, and has very, very bad effects. So I'm sure people will ask me, Doc, if you say no sugar, no maida, what do we do? Well, there are lovely substitutes out there. There are natural sweeteners available like jaggery, honey, dates, black raisins. They are all sweeteners. They are natural sweeteners. Sweet fruits, mango, go all out there if you have the craving of anything sweet. But we are tuned to having a certain kind of dessert. Okay, so there are a lot of substitutes for that. Now, instead of maida, one should go in more for millet flours like jowar, bajra, nachni, mixed atta, oats, beautiful. Whatever our Indian systems, grandparents or the farmers, or the thali system is one of the best system that was created. So this are the tips for physical wellness. Let's go to mental wellness. Again, my tips for you is, first, spend at least half an hour quality time with yourself without any kind of screen. No mobile, no TV, just with yourself. Listen to what your mind is saying. And trust me, you will create like anything. In fact, the best of inventions done by any of the scientists was done when they were calm. They were so saturated doing research, and then they sat down like Newton's. He was so fed up of doing so much research, if you read about him, that finally he went and sat down in an open garden under a tree where the apple fell down. So we need to spend that quality time, half an hour with ourselves, and you see the difference. One more tip for mental wellness is laugh and smile as much as you can. To begin with, we might have to do it artificially. That's okay. Just laugh aloud. Just smile as much as you can. Keep a reminder on your phone which says, okay, smile every 15 minutes, and you see the difference. Very good hormone starts releasing. There is a release of dopamine, which makes you feel good, and see the difference. My tip for mind-body connection. 2 important tips. First, meditate. When you meditate and just concentrate on your breath in and out, the whole thing for living for us as human beings is due to our breath. And when that breath becomes like a controlled breath through meditation, you see the difference. So meditate. A lot of guided meditations of different religious spiritual gurus and are available free on YouTube. So better mind-body connection, meditate. And my second takeaway for mind-body connection is to ask a lot of questions. Remember the last slide where I said, how can I be aware? What is this? What can I do about this? Like, for example, if you're feeling sad, you've had a conflict with your boss and you feel sad, just sit down and ask, what is this? What can I do about this? Can I change this? If so, how can I change this? Just by asking a lot of open-ended questions, it brings a lot of choice and possibilities. So these are my takeaways for the holistic wellness. Finally, as the doctor of homeopathy, the father of homeopathy, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann says that actually the highest ideal of cure is the one which is speedy, which is gentle, and which helps in restoring health by the most trustworthy physician in the least harmful way. And that's what exactly homeopathy does. So thank you so much. I will be open to take questions from you all. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Last takeaway from me to you is, if there is anything that which you feel is not possible in your life, trust me, it is possible. It always seems impossible until it's done. So take that one step towards the possibility and see that life can become beautiful.